Greetings, greetings, greetings. Again, this is former trustee Edward Steve with another one of our great interviews on the Dalton Trustee YouTube page. And today, we have a special guest. We have Trustee Tammie Brown. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Tammie Brown. Something about your life in Dalton. Did you grew here? You flew here? Talk about how long you've been in Dalton, your history here.
I actually flew here.
Yeah.
I came from the west side of Chicago, born and raised. I've been in Dalton now 17 years. Actually moved out here to give a better life for my son. I am a single parent.
Yeah. Okay. And you have any grandchildren?
I have 5 grandchildren. I have a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 16-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
That's a blessing. What's the best thing about being a grandma?
Oh, gosh. You can get them when you want them.
And then you can give them back.
And I can always give them back. But I love my grandchildren.
Yeah.
I love them. I love hanging out with them. We do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
I love my grandchildren.
Okay. What's the best thing, or what attracted you to Dalton when you moved here?
When I looked in the area, quiet street, sort of laid back, set back, a lot of seniors, older adults that live in this block, in this neighborhood. And we tend to look out for one another. Yeah. So this block here is like a family. Yeah. Like I've joined a family, one of the younger residents in this neighborhood.
Yeah. And I think the best thing for Dalton is still not too far from the city.
Absolutely.
It's still right outside the city. So if
right
you need
outside.
To shoot downtown real quick, it's not that far.
That far at all.
What's your professional history? I know, talk about your history at UPS.
I actually worked 32 and a half years at UPS. I retired as a HR supervisor. I came in '88 as an auditor, where I audit trailers on a part-time basis, and was a part-time student and a full-time mom.
Yeah. So 30, you did 30, how many years did you do?
32 and a half. I was 2 months shy of 33 years.
Yeah, that's nice.
In one place.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
How's retirement life?
Oh, I love it. The best thing ever. I love it. Being able to come and go as I please. Yeah. Some days I get up and say, hey, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then other days, I can do whatever.
Okay.
I can do whatever.
That's good stuff. So let's get into what was your start in Dalton politics?
My start in Dalton politics, it was something I definitely was not interested in the beginning. My guy back in the day was slated to run for a Dalton trustee. We talked about it. I'm going to run for trustee. Fine, do it. Do it. Whatever support you need from me, you got it. Mm-hmm. And then he decided, says, well, hey, Mayor Riley, I don't think I'm going to run. I have the perfect candidate for you. And I said, well, let's meet with him. Let's meet the candidate. So we end up having dinner with Mayor Rogers. And he says, well, introduce me to the candidate. And he says to Mayor Rogers, it's my lady. And I paused, and I took a look around and said, oh, my God, not me.
Yeah.
And he says, why not you? I said, oh, Chuck, my schedule is just too busy to get involved in politics. It was definitely the holiday time where you work so many hours trying to staff the various buildings. So I said, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I don't know anyone. When I moved out here, I normally talk to my neighbor to the left and to the right, speak to everybody else, and is in and out, and that's just about it. I knew no one out here in Dalton, so I felt that to be very difficult, trying to run for a position, and I didn't know anyone.
Yeah. So, and also me, Tammie, ran on the same ticket in 2019.
Absolutely.
I was new to politics. You was new to politics.
Yes.
And we ran on the same ticket. And then we used to And I mean, that winter was cold and
Very
going door to
cold.
door, and it was me, you, and Andrew Holmes that ran on
Yes.
that first ticket
Yes.
together. And there's a lot of history there, you know. A lot. It was a lot of good times, and but we ran and we won.
We won.
What was your spirit? What was your thoughts when you won?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. That particular morning, election day, we woke up, we were getting ready, you know, hitting the streets, going to the various polling places, getting set up. And I remember being at the park district was my polling place. And I remember being out there. And for some reason, I felt sick that morning. So I said, well, it's kind of slow. I'm going to take a ride home, which I didn't stay very far. And I remember calling my grandfather. I'm sitting in the car, and I'm calling him. I'm crying. I'm like, Daddy, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's overwhelming. It's too much. I can't do it. So at that particular time, he says, close your eyes. And he prayed for me. And I can always remember this. He prayed for me, and he says, call me when you win. And I took the phone down and I looked at it like, call you when I win? He has to be crazy or something. Call you when I win. And he says, call me when you win. And that stuck in my head. Polling place is closed. And I remember going back into my polling place. And there were 3 precincts in my polling place. And when I got the results that I had won all 3, oh my God, it just was overwhelming. I couldn't believe it. Like, oh my God, I won. Me? I won. And I'm getting in my car. I had some of my UPSers with me working that day. And we're in the car and we're hugging each other and we're laughing and we're crying all at the same time. Because I can't believe that I won. As we go over to the polling place, and the polling place is just full of people there, supporters, residents, people who work for us during election day. We're all there. In the campaign office. I'm sorry, in the campaign office, and we got so many people there, and we're watching the numbers, and as the numbers come in, I see that I've won this precinct, you won that precinct, you won that precinct. I was just. I was just overjoyed. I couldn't believe it. And I remember going outside because I started to cry. It was so funny. Yeah. I started to cry inside, and I didn't want anyone to see me cry. So I went outside to my car, and as I sat into my car, my grandfather called and said, congratulations. And I boo-hooed all over the place.
Well, you kept that in lip rap. I didn't.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I cried so hard. I just couldn't believe it. And he says to me, I knew you could do it. I told you to call me when you win. And from that day forth, I just like, oh my God, I really can't believe that this has happened.
Yeah.
From a person who knew nothing really about politics. Yeah. But I've always been a people's person. I've always been a person involved in my community. Always.
Yeah. And we came with Raleigh,
yes.
Mayor Rogers. So, you know, in my belief, it says that God hates ingratitude. And we're forever grateful for Raleigh Rogers getting into this political game.
Yes, we are.
And because we started, I wasn't thinking about running for office until hey, you want to run for trustee? I was involved, you know what I mean? But,
yes, you are.
So we're forever grateful for Mayor Rogers for getting us into this game.
Yes.
Because we're still here fighting for the community. And he got a lot of us, another generation, involved in politics to actually, you know, save this village. Because it's pretty bad right now.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, we started with Rogers and we got in. So, what was the first 2 years of your seat like? What was it like to you?
It was mostly a learning experience. The first 2 years, a lot of people say, "Well, you didn't do anything." Well, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So my thing is to sit back and learn. Look at others who have been in this position before me, and learn from that. Yeah. So my first 2 years was like learning a position, sitting back, and setting that platform up for the following 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first 2 years of a learning experience.
Yeah.
A learning
And the
experience.
first 2 years weren't, well, nobody prepared us for our last 2 years, but the first 2 years, it was a learning curve. You're getting used to being in front of people. You're getting used to talking and stuff like that.
Yes.
So the last 2 years of your first term, what was that like? Because the last 2 years of our term together,
Right.
it was first 2 years under Rogers, the last 2 years under Henry. What was that transition like?
Oh my God. That's like day and midnight, I would say.
Yeah.
A very drastic turn
Yeah.
of events, I would say. I would say a totally different from my first 2 years. Being a trustee for 8 years is totally different from being the mayor of a town. It's totally different. You have much more responsibility as being a mayor, and you totally have to be committed to that position. And what I mean committed to your people, doing what's right for the community, and also listening to the people.
Yep. You're right. It's totally different because as a trustee, you can come in 2 meetings a month, make your votes, and
you're out.
Then you're out. You can be and then what happens with the first 2 years? Of course, Rogers would keep us involved. Hey, this is going on. Ed, I'm putting this on the agenda. What you think? Stuff like that. But you're right. It would be. But when you're the mayor, that's a whole nother reality. And my last 2 years there, as you can see now, it turned into a part-time. It turned into a full-time.
Yes, it did.
Job because
Yes, it
you
did.
had to constantly be. They were always hiding something, not turning over something, not hiding and spending, then lying about it. Then you have to be mindful before you get to the meeting, what I'm going to say, what's going to come out of me, what am I looking at? Then they send it to you late, and then you get rated. So talk about that, them 2 years, the stress that it turned from, because it wasn't the first 2 years wasn't stressful, but you had to pay attention. But them next 2 years,
and even years were very stressful.
Yeah.
I can definitely say that for me, still working a full-time job and taking on another full-time job. It started out as a part-time position, but when the new administration came in, it made it a full-time job for me. That means that I had to be on my toes at all times to make sure that things that maybe, I didn't have to get so involved in my first 2 years.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that I committed myself full time for this. Yeah. You had a lot of things, as you said, were going on. You weren't able to get the warrant list in a reasonable amount of time. When we used to get it on a Thursday to prepare yourself for Monday's meeting, now you get it Saturday night, maybe midnight, or it's Sunday afternoon.
Sometimes the same day.
And then you want me to look over 45, 50 pages and then to make a decision. Yeah. Some of those things had needed to be investigated, and you didn't have the time to do that. Yeah. So you definitely don't want to go in there making a mistake voting on something that you have no knowledge of. Yeah. And that's where the differences came in with us in the new administration. Yeah. You wanted me to vote on something that I had no knowledge of. Yeah. I wouldn't dare make a decision like that not only affects me, but it affects our entire village.
And then at the same time, when we first got in, there was a level of trust that you can go to the department heads, even once you got it, you can call the department, you can call the village administrator, and they say, this is what it is, this is what it is. So you had that open communication with the department heads, and all that stopped.
You can even go in there and visit. Talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing? I want to stop by, and I need for you to review some things or go over some things with me. With this administration, no one can talk to you. They say they can, they can't.
One time I went over to Public Works when I was still there, and I was over to Public Works, and I went, and they said, man, look, the cameras on you, they know you're here. So
absolutely.
And so it turned into, they were scared to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Department heads were scared to talk to you, and so you really couldn't get all the information you pretty much needed.
You never could.
You know what I mean?
And I always feel if a person has something to hide from you, it's something going on. Yeah. And when you started getting things that you used to have access to, and that access was no longer granted. It was restricted. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me being in HR for all those years, it really broke my heart to see the employees put in the middle of this fight.
Yeah.
To have to make a choice to choose. Could I talk to you, or I have to listen to what the administration is saying? You started to mess with people's livelihood,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
their families.
Yeah.
So I don't fault any of them for any of that, because,
Yeah.
again, this is the way that they take care of their families.
Yeah.
I understand that. But me, myself, hadn't been in that position, I would have quit.
Yeah. 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 That's,
I would have quit.
the employees were definitely in the middle where they couldn't. Man, they would tell you, no, I can't. No,
I can't.
I can't talk to you. You know, and it was real. I remember one employee said, "Man, look, they don't care about due process. They don't care about you suing
They
the
don't
village.
care about anything.
They will fire you in a heartbeat and say, sue me." And that's why you got so many legal fees. How many lawsuits we got right now because employees were fired the wrong way?
We have 40-something lawsuits, and I'm sure that 36 are on her watch.
Yep.
From looking back at the spreadsheet. And who fires a person on FMLA? Who fires a person because I came back from FMLA and I didn't want to take the shift that you provided for me? A lot of these things could have been worked out if you had just set the person down and say, hey, we can't do this, but what is it that we can do for you to make sure that you are still employed here? We never did that.
Yeah, never.
We never did that. We never tried to work with our employees. You know, and I seen that coming in. If you do good by your people will do good by you.
So now I want to go into, you remember, after we did the recall, even though we were successful, she really turned up into just spending money and doing a bunch of stuff. So she started turning everybody against the trustees. So them board meetings would be so hard because she would just be lying and say what I always say is that she would spend it, then bring it to the board and say pay for it. And then when we say no, the trustees don't want to get your trees cut. They don't want the streets done. And for a while that was really going in her favor.
It did.
But now that is not going in her favor now because she's got caught in so many public lies. Like the guy just said on news, you pretty much really can't believe nothing that comes out of her mouth.
Absolutely.
What was that like at the beginning when them board meetings, she used to fill the crowd up and just dog us out, people coming at you dogging us out? What was that like? What was going through your mind?
That was like going into the lion's den with no ammunition. Seriously.
Right.
You would have to stay prayed up to go to those board meetings and sit there and take those beatings. That was not a good feeling going into there. Definitely have to pray before and after going into those board meetings. It was not a good feeling. And it was very stressful at some point in time. Very stressful. I would dread when Monday morning comes, that first Monday morning. I would dread it because it's like, I know I'm going to battle. Put on your boxing gloves. Get ready because you're going to have one hell of a fight when you go to that board meeting.
Yeah. Especially when it doesn't have to be, but that's what the leader wants. She wants to fight. That seems like that's her comfort zone.
Yes.
And so what's your thoughts now? Because you can see the tide turning.
Oh gosh.
And it is like just had this township meetings. The people are seeing through it. And the people are standing up and they're seeing through it. What does that feel like now?
Victory.
Yeah.
Victory. Yeah. Victory is coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. Now that the people see for themselves, they will always say, well, the trustees. It's the trustees. The trustees don't want to pay the bills. The trustees don't want to work with me. Yeah. Not true. None of it. Now the people see that it wasn't the trustees. It's you, Mayor.
Yeah.
It's you.
I remember 2 years ago, a lady seen me, and she was kind of like, I was telling her, I said, we don't trust her. I was running it down to her. And she was kind of chiding me, y'all need to work with her. I think you need to work. She's doing some great things. I seen her this past election time. She stopped. She said, look, I was wrong.
Oh, yes.
We got to get this girl.
And you know what, Ed? A lot of people, you even had people that voted for her,
Yeah.
that believed in her,
Yeah.
that she can turn this village around. And now those same people that you see was like, oh my God, I regret voting for her.
Yeah.
But again, we must remember, everybody can be given a chance. It's just what do you do with that chance that you're given?
Yeah, yeah,
It's what you do with it.
yeah. Yeah, and she had a chance.
And she had a chance.
She had a great chance.
I was one who didn't believe in her from the jump. I was one of those people, and I'll say that. I'll take that. But I pat myself on the back. Hey, what I
you were
thought.
never sold on it. You was never sold on it.
I was never sold on her. I was never sold on her. It just was something about the way that she governed the village. And it was always said, you don't like me. No, it's not that I don't like you. I don't like the way you govern. I don't like the way you work. I don't like the way you operate.
Yeah.
And a person who you can't tell anything, that knows everything,
Yeah.
you see them going downhill.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where we are today, going downhill.
Yeah.
But it's up to us, along with the residents, to rebuild Dalton.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. What's your view going forward? What do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every single day, that light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
There is light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah.
And I can see Dalton coming back, being the village that it was years ago, that brought so many families here to raise their children and make a life here.
Okay. What's your thoughts on the team that's going to run for this next election?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding team. I have worked with each and every one of them, and trust me, we are going to put Dalton back on the map.
Yeah. It's a great team. It's a great team.
It's a wonderful team. And then again, don't get me wrong. Every team has their times where we disagree on some things. But at the end of the day, what makes this such a great team is that at the end of the day, we come to a conclusion as what's best for Dalton.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That's true. And we'll talk, you know what I mean? The team we're talking about, Jason House, Kiana Belcher, myself, Brittany Norwood, and the clerk.
Absolutely.
And yourself. I think we can do really great things.
We can. We've done it.
We've done it.
We've done great things.
Yeah.
As you've seen, the Fantastic Five, as we will call ourselves, back just last year. Again, I know that we can do some positive things. We're just going to finish what we started.
Yeah, yeah. Could you elaborate on, if you see, you can't be a good leader, you can't be a good teammate if it's my way or the highway. You can't be a good parent with my way or the highway, especially when your children get, I have a 17-year-old. I can't say my way or the highway. You have to talk. What are you thinking? You know, and you have to, sometimes you got to lay down low, but you have to compromise. Even with my 8-year-old, my 4-year-old.
You do.
Shut up. You can't just, you know.
You can't do that. You have to compromise.
Yeah.
You have to come together and say, hey, let's sit at the table. Let us all put our ideas together and see what works best for this village.
Yeah.
What works best.
Yeah.
You might have an idea that I don't have. I might have an input that you don't. But when we all put it together and it comes together as what's best for the village, you came in the door already with that day one.
Yeah.
It's my way or no way at all. You can't be successful with that type of attitude.
And keep in mind, she inherited, we had some debts. We had the water debt. But the finances of the village was in good condition.
We had a surplus when you came in.
Yep.
So when she tells that lie and said, oh, you guys were in a deficit when I came, that's a lie.
That's a lie. And she got, I'm going to find a meeting. There's a meeting where the auditor said this is the best he's seen the village finances in 6 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so when she got the village, it was in a good financial. The
It
audits
was in
were
a
up,
good financial.
and there was a surplus. And then she got all the COVID money.
Yes.
She got, and we voted for some of this stuff. That first year
Absolutely.
budget, I've seen it. I said in the past video, the first year budget, we gave her a lot. You know, but it is.
We gave her some things that we didn't want to,
Yep.
but in order to make this village run
Yep.
and to show her that we had her back,
Yep.
give her some of the things
Yep.
that she asked for.
Yep.
And it just seemed like with the blink of an eye,
Yeah.
the devil came in.
Yeah. And it was either I get 100% or we
Well,
got a problem. And
or-
that's not reality, but that's how she's running the village.
That's it.
And
That's it.
and it's either 100%. And if you disagree with me on one thing, then you're disagreeing with me and you're disrespecting me.
That's it.
And the mindset of I think when that recall stuff happened, and even before that, it was always war. She didn't want to turn
But
over.
when the recall happened, it was all out war.
Yeah.
You know, you would tell people, you know, not to talk to my enemy. Who does that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all in this town. We've all been elected for these positions to do a job. And it's not to come in here and bash one another or talk down to one another. It's to make this village better. That's the reason why people voted for us and put us in these positions.
Yeah.
Because they believed in us, that we can do this.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just turned like night and day.
Night and day. You're right.
Night and day.
And I remember, I think it was Kiana Belcher. Somebody asked her, "Well, why are we doing a recall?" 'Cause she said, "We see where she's going. If we don't try to stop this now, when it gets bad to where it is now,
We're going to be
people
blamed.
gonna say, well, what did y'all do?
That's
We
right.
tried to recall her.
One thing I've known and I've always believed in this, you have to correct the behavior as it's happening,
Yeah,
not when it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Correct it as it's happening, and that was the reason why we did the recall.
yeah,
We did the recall, and she was recalled.
yeah. It's just the courts.
The residents felt that
Yeah.
she's not doing a good job.
Yeah.
Let's get her out of here now
Yeah.
before things get to where they are today.
Yeah.
And when we talk about deficit, we talked about 7 million back in September. God knows where we are today.
Yeah, yep.
We still don't have the necessary tools for us to do our jobs.
What's your thoughts on, because we did run with Andrew Holmes.
Yes.
Of course, Andrew Holmes is a big name from being on the news and stuff like that. Express, and I will to all, the disappointment because we came in together. We started with Riley, and then he flipped on Riley and then ran
Yes.
against him. And then, talk about the disappointment of to see that to where it is now.
It's a huge disappointment. Like as you said, the three of us came in together. We had our own dream team
Yeah.
back then, the three of us. We had formed a bond, sort of like a sister and brotherhood.
Yeah.
That we would look out for one another, campaigning together, hang out together.
Yeah.
So we formed a special bond, a relationship. And to actually see when he turned and ran for mayor, things sort of totally changed of how I really felt about him then.
Yeah.
Seeing that you came in with us, now you've turned against us. Is that not something you could have talked about with us before you made that position? I know you don't owe us anything,
Yeah.
but with the bond and the relationship that we had formed, I would have thought you would have came at least to one of us and talked about your disappointments or things that you didn't approve of and your reason for running. I want to run because of XYZ. If you could have talked to us about it, I would have felt a little bit better.
Yeah. And then as far as what it went to, how it turned of his last 2 years to where it is now.
It's like we're total enemies, as with him as well. You're voting on some things. I don't even think he takes a look at the things that he's voting on. I think he's just saying yes to please the mayor.
Yeah. I remember there was one time me and him got into a back and forth because he kept on saying, we need to pay these people. And, he would come with the Martin Luther King quotes and black people, we got to stick together. And we're telling him, I asked him, are you okay? It was at the time, it was a $2.8 million deficit. And she was spending money on these roofs and stuff like that with no RFPs, no contracts, we had no oversight and none of it.
None.
And we're asking questions, and me and him got back and forth. But it was a disappointment.
It's a big
because we came in together, and then when he upped and ran for mayor against Raleigh, and then when he got in, when she got in, then they became
the best of friends.
BFS, but they was dogging each other out for.
Friends.
And that's the thing with this politics stuff that's kind of hard sometimes. That whole, there's no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, it's permanent interests. That's true to a degree. But to see him flip and then you go with her, and then they were riding high. They was riding high for a second, taking trips to Selma and flying all over the country.
Taking trips to Vegas.
Taking trips to Vegas. You're right. Taking trips to Vegas, and then to hear the allegations and everything came up that happened.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Heartbreaking.
It's
that was one that really took me over the ledge there.
Yeah.
This could have been my daughter, my granddaughter, my sister, a family member, a friend. You know, this could have been any young lady that's out there. And for that to actually happen, and then the cover-up, which is devastating, the cover-up. So many people knew what took place, but never said a word. Here's a person asked, how do you sleep with yourself at night? No, the question is, how do you sleep with yourself at night? I can sleep with myself at night, but how do you sleep with yourself at night? A person who claims to love her people, you can't. This is a young lady that looked up to you as her mentor, and for you to shatter her world is devastating.
It was, and Fanny is a sweet girl. She really believed heavily in Tiffany, and to hear, you know, she came out, which is really bold of her.
It is.
And we were on the opposite sides.
On the opposite sides.
You know, I give her grace because you know she's young and impressionable, and Tiffany, you know, can be that with people. She can swoop, or what did I say, swoop, but woo people, kind of mislead them.
She can, and she actually had this young lady believing that she was for her, about her. You know. And that in itself is.
And to see her stand up with the strength she does now is commendable.
Oh wow.
It's commendable.
It is.
Because that happened, when it happened, to know that happened and they're operating like it didn't happen, I can't imagine that, but that was a whole year before this coin came out.
But as I say, how could you live with yourself and the other people that knew? It wasn't just the mayor, that whole entourage that went to Vegas knew what happened. And for you not to say anything, it's devastating. It's devastating. And like you said, for her to come out and be as brave as she is, I mean, words can't describe. Words can't describe.
So it's disappointing because, you know, Andrew kind of, you know, paraded himself as the community activist and to see this turn like this, and he just tied himself to the wrong horse. You know, he tied himself. I don't use the word horse as describing a woman, but tied herself to the wrong team.
Yes, he did.
And like I said, they were board meeting, dogging us out. People clapping for him.
Yes.
Martin Luther King and we got to get together. If this was a white man, we wouldn't be fighting like this. All that stuff they put on us while she is just blatantly lying and spending the money.
And for them to sit back and know. And do nothing. And do nothing. He is a person that many of us have watched and believed in. And to see the allegations, the alleged, you know, things that they say he did, it's heartache.
There was one, they did the report when the female trustees, you, Keon, and Brittany, read the report, and I was there, but some of them y'all teared up.
And when I tell you, a heartache, a stomach drop, to read what actually had taken place, How could you do that?
Yeah.
Here's a person that speaks on saving others, protecting others that the world sees.
Yeah.
And then now to see how the tides have turned,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. That day, it reading that information truly did something to me.
Yeah. 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 So, in closing, Trustee Tammie Brown, who we have some, like I said, we started together. I remember
Yes.
it's because I
Oh,
kept
gosh.
on, I kept on falling. It was getting this black ice, and I kept on falling.
Yes.
I just kept on falling. They would laugh and stuff like that. But it's a good story. Then remember, Chuck wouldn't get out the car.
No.
So we'd be out the door, and he rolled down and went, "Y'all here too long. Keep moving. Keep moving.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
And he's in the car all warm, and
Yeah.
we're outside. This was one particular year. The weather was horrible.
Yeah, it was brutal.
The weather was horrible. And I remember Ed and I going door to door to door. We came to this one particular resident, and I don't know if you remember, Theodore Norwood.
Yeah.
Said,
yeah.
come on in. Come on in.
Yeah.
Warm up.
Yeah.
Let me make you some coffee, some tea. Get warm before you go back out there. And from that day, we have been good friends ever since that day.
Yeah.
I remember that. We were freezing.
Yeah, we were talking,
And I would laugh at Ed falling, and
was falling,
you could
man.
just hear my snow pants just
Yeah.
as we were walking down the street.
The one time I fell, and all my clips
Yes,
went through in the air.
yes.
Yeah.
But we met some wonderful people.
Wonderful people, yeah.
And and that showed me it's some wonderful people
In Dalton.
that live in Dalton.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
wonderful people.
And you said if Chuck was here right now, what do you think?
Oh
he would
my
say?
God. I always crack a joke with Ed. I said if Charles Higgins was here now, we would have been married, of course.
Yeah.
And I said to Ed, we'll be separated right now. And Ed says, why? For put me in all this mess.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and we laugh about that.
Yeah.
Chuck is one of the reasons why I'm here in this position today. Chuck is no longer with us, but I thank God for Chuck believing in me that I can actually make a difference here in Dalton. And also my granddad, who is no longer here. But those people stayed on me and believed and instilled in me that I could make a difference in Dalton.
Yeah. He used to be like, "Hey, I'm telling her to get out here. She got to get out here."
But the saying he would always say to Ed and I, the one who works the hardest
will win.
wins.
Yeah.
And that sticks with me today, even in going into the second term.
Yeah.
You got to work hard. If there's something you want, you got to work hard at it. And even going into the second term, and then even going into this next term with the team that's running, we got to work hard because we know that we can win and put this ticket back together.
Yeah. All right. Well, any closing words?
Oh gosh. 2025, February 2025, the real dream team will be formed February of 2025.
Hey, Clean House 2025.
Clean House 2025.
All right. On that note, thank you for watching. This is former Trustee Edward Steve. Make sure you subscribe to our Dalton Trustee YouTube page. And there's going to be a lot more announcements about the campaign, the team that's running Jason House for mayor, and we're going to keep moving.
That's it. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.